My manager told me to quit, so I did. So, to set the scene, I am from the UK and I was at the time 23. During the summer of 2023, I was looking around for a summer job to make some extra money while writing my book. The store had 3 tables inside with 4 chairs each, a gazebo outside with 6 tables, and an outside sitting area with 6 tables. Our shift was kushti with a 9 a.m. start and a 3:30 p.m. finish. The owners were Greek Cypriots and we could always hear Greek music in the background. It was a lovely little place to visit. From the outside, that is. The workplace was a small yet busy diner next to my gym. I went in and asked if they were hiring. They were, and instantly gave me an interview, which felt weird as I had no prior experience. So, my first day was a practice shift. This means I didn't get paid. I think it is quite common in the UK for this to happen. The people working there and the owners all seemed to be good people, so I was enjoying it there for my first few months. However, I was informed that 3 of our 5 staff were leaving to pursue their own paths. One of the girls, let's call her Jamie, was the head waitress and pretty much my manager. She was cool and we would talk about all things movie related. In her final few weeks, the stress was clearly getting to her as boss woman, let's call her Karen, started belittling her and acting as if all of her problems, Karen's, was caused by Jamie. Jamie had been working there for 3 years at this point and had dealt with Karen's BS throughout the years, but she seemed to be getting worse and worse by the day. But she was acting nice to me and the rest of the staff. So, we didn't really see that side to her, Karen, until one day she had a massive breakdown and started screaming at Jamie in front of paying customers and some of our regulars. The whole store was staring at the commotion and I had to go out and serve the customers whilst reassuring them that everything was okay. Jamie had gone to the toilet and started crying. Karen's face was bright red with anger. Personally, I thought the situation was funny as she got mad over something that was easily fixable. Karen had been irate all day and it was her own fault as she had been overworking herself by working 7 days a week, every week, for coming up to 8 years. Her husband, other owner, let's call him Kevin, was very set in his ways about everything and loved it to be his own way. We could never get a break from either of them and they would moan about the way we cleaned, served, engaged with customers, and even when we engaged with one another. I was mopping one day after the store had been closed and we were doing a close down. Kevin started having a go at me as I wasn't mopping properly. So, he snatched the mop off me and whispered to himself, "How can someone not know how to mop properly?" Then proceed to mop exactly like how I was just doing it. He was annoying at times but was the better of the 2 evils. However, it seemed as if he was devoid of any personality, as when you spoke to him he would only give one-word answers and the most you would get out of him was a hi and a bye. One day I come in and Karen rushes at me all flustered. "Why are you so late? I've been needing you in now for 30 minutes. Just for reference, I was in at 8:45, which was 15 minutes before I was meant to start. So, I am 6 feet 4 and Karen is 4 feet 10, so she needed me to put stuff away on the top shelves. There were some expensive bowls used for decoration around upper parts of the diner. So, I was putting them up as they had just been washed the night before. They were all in the places she wanted me to put them in. Then, not even 10 minutes later, as I am laying out the tables, I hear a loud crash. She fell into the wall where one of the decorative bowls were placed. The bowl fell down and smashed all over the floor. The scene was very dramatic and could have been easily avoided if she had just looked where she was going. Guess what happens next? Yep. She calls my name. "Why didn't you put the bowl on properly? It's all a mess because of you." Blah, blah. Just moaning and being her usual insufferable self. So, I smirked and said, should have watched where you were going then. Wow, she shrieked, like a shriek you've never heard before, and bellowed out, how dare you? It is your fault because you are useless. Then proceeded to storm past me to her car. I cleaned up the mess and Kevin said, you should be more careful about where you put things next time. So, I just looked right at him and said, yep. Next day came along and I actually got an apology, which I never expected. It hit me off guard. She then asked me to put more things on the top shelf and I said, but I don't want to put it in the wrong place, and her face turned bright red like a tomato. She didn't say anything, just stormed away and went on her phone in the kitchen. Then, Kevin said, do you really need to act like that? We are paying you blah blah. Cue malicious compliance. I put it into a spot they couldn't reach even with a step ladder, as I had to reach it with a step ladder. A few hours go by and we are packing up. Karen asks where I put the items and pointed to them sticking out, pretty much touching the roof, and said, good luck, then went home. A few weeks go by of back and forth with me and the owners. The three people all leave in September and I find out my other colleague, who was really cool and making this whole toxic work environment bearable, let's call him Marcus, is going on holiday for 2 weeks. So, we start talking about brighter and better pastures. I tell him I want to quit and he helps me look for better jobs. Eventually, I find one that is better pay and closer to my house. 15-minute walk. So, during this week, Karen is worse than usual, as it is just me and Marcus and he is still new, so I have to teach him how to make the coffees, do the cash register and take orders properly whilst upselling. Karen doesn't like how I am upselling our cakes and tries to show me how to do it, saying, let me show you what more than 10 years of experiences gets you. She forgets the items that we have and doesn't know the allergens for it, so had to go back inside and check. The person wanted something gluten-free. I knew exactly what she was looking for but couldn't interrupt this masterpiece. So, I started on other tables, got all of their orders, and Karen still hadn't found the allergens for each cake yet. I wrote it on the back of each container to make it easier to remember and told her about it multiple times. But I'm not stupid. I know what is gluten-free and what isn't. Eventually, after 15 minutes of looking, she came to me defeated and said just take her order. It was a funny little bit of irony. Later on in the week, it is hectic and there are around 50 people all waiting in line to be served for takeout. I took over the till and Marcus made the drinks. At this point we weren't able to do any table service and clearly wrote it in bold letters as soon as you walk in. All things are going well, until Karen says Marcus needs to do a delivery for their other company, and it needed to be done now. So, it went from me and Marcus barely holding on to me having to do all the drinks, take all the orders, bill all the food, clean the plates and cutlery. And wouldn't you know, Karen even said we are doing table service again. At this point she was doing nothing. Kevin was cooking and she was on her phone barking orders. The deliveries Maris had to do was over 1 hour long due to traffic, which meant I had to do everything during the dinner rush by myself. I was also getting nasty remarks like, "You're useless," or "I could do it faster." At this point I glared at her and stated, "Do it better then," whilst staring right at her. She stuttered and was like, "Now." I nodded and she just looked down as everyone in the store was looking at her at this point. She didn't come over and I said I was not doing table service as I have no help. Most people were fine with it and either waited at their tables or joined the queue. All except one. A woman who was potentially the worst customer I have ever dealt with. She did a loud ahem and moaned, "What about me? I have been waiting for 15 minutes and still haven't received any service." She was sat right in front of where the till was. I said, "Sorry, I can't help you now as I have all these other customers to deal with." Then Kevin said, "She's a regular, we treat all our regulars with respect here." She smugly looked at me and I said, "Okay." I stopped everything I was doing, just to go and serve her. All the people waiting in line, about 25 at this point, some who were also our regulars, were left doing nothing as I had to wait for this other woman Karen too. Zero to read through the entire menu and order the same thing she always did, cheese plus ham omelet, with red onions and extra cheese. People were getting so irate as they only had a certain amount of time before their lunch ended. So, they started leaving, which caused the owners to be mad at me and mumble, "We need to find someone new, he's terrible." So, I smiled at him, and before I could say anything, a stranger who I was about to serve said, "If you didn't tell him that your regulars are more of a priority than the other people, then he wouldn't have to take her order." Everyone was stunned and Kevin looked like a bat out of hell. I tried to hold my composure, but I just laughed very loudly with tears. I served the guy and he gave me a £20 tip on a £5 meal. At the end of the shift, Karen said, "I have never felt so disrespected in my life. We don't need you. Why don't you just quit?" Marcus saw me and smiled. I said, "Okay, I quit." Then later that night sent a very strongly worded email to them saying everything that is wrong with them and their establishment. I blocked Karen and Kevin's number after they tried calling me multiple times. The fallout was amazing. Whilst Marcus was on holiday, they had no one to do their duties for them. So Karen had to get off her lazy ass and put in the work. They did get a replacement in for me, but it was only after 1 week that they found someone, so she had to do all of the arduous work by herself. Now anytime I go to the gym, I will typically catch eyes with either Kevin or Karen and they give me the dirtiest looks ever. I just laugh right at them and wave. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find a job just yet. However, I was able to publish my book. Currently working on a second and hoping to find another job soon. Thank you for taking your time to read this. I hope it was enjoyable. Fantastic Sky. However, I was able to publish my book. I feel like I have just read one. Now, at the ripe old age of 24, having the wisdom the last 4 months have given me, I can only reminisce on what could have been. Some people just have the gift of summary. Not you though. That's a lot of words to say. My boss was a bitch, so I quit. Eventually, I find one that is better pay and closer to my house. 15-minute walk. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find a job just yet. What happened to the job you and Marcus found? Which not only pays more but is also closer to your house? Shoulda quit 23 paragraphs earlier. War and Peace of a Wait We Unabridged. Wow, that's a lot of words. Why does it take a gazillion paragraphs to explain what could be done in a couple of sentences? Edit. Ooh. Publish his book. That explains why there are so many words. But didn't you find a better job 15 minutes away from home? Wish I knew OP's real name so I never make the mistake of picking up their book. Brevity is not your strong point, is it? Op? A lot of people don't know what the XL flare means, huh? It was well written and satisfying. Amazing they don't go out of business with that kind of turnover. Good luck out there, Op. Thank you for taking your time to read this. I hope it was enjoyable. No, this was superfluous as hell. Hope your book is easier to read than this story. TLDR version, please. The beginning of the never-ending story. The chapter about the bowls makes you sound like a huge awe. I don't like anyone in this story. You double posted this.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Heracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.